the city of Bukavu, a place where many come in search of safety after fleeing horror beyond belief. Amid poverty and disease, they try to rebuild their lives.
For some of these women, the first time they've ever spoken about what's happened to them has been very recently. They want their voices heard and they want their stories told.
In a country ravaged by decades of conflict, those left traumatised and broken are silenced by fear and shame. The Democratic Republic of Congo may be rich in natural resources, but in its rural villages, armed groups continue to spread chaos and terror. Here, they argue sexual violence causes more devastation than bullets.
Most of the time, always when I'm telling my story, I feel as if I'm still living that situation.
My heart hurts because I live alone. The neighbors, my family, all of them reject me.
Angela feels her nightmare is never ending.
I don't have any means to survive. I was dealing with small business and we were happy, but now I don't have anything.
I met the 29-year-old close to the Congolese border in neighbouring Rwanda. The mother of 3 was pregnant with her 4th child when her family's home was attacked by a group of armed men.
Outside we heard the noise. There were 9 people. They entered in my house with the soldier's uniform. I didn't know where they came from. They asked my husband to give them money. And then they killed my husband after they raped me.
Angela's children were forced to watch this brutality. It was 3 months before she made it to a hospital. There she was told she is HIV positive. The men responsible have never been prosecuted.
The things that affect me is to see that those people are still free and they are in the village. But me, I'm ill. I am ill and I'm suffering alone, but no one is there.
And there's no other help comes from government or anywhere else?
It's estimated 4 in 10 women in the province of South Kivu have experienced some form of sexual violence.
I was very reluctant to come, to be honest with you, because I thought it might be overwhelming, and at points it has been.
The tragedy of it is that women who've gone through these terrible experiences of rape by militias, taking them out of their houses, sometimes they're murdering their partners, murdering people around them. The recovery from that is terrible, because then the women become ostracised from their own families.
When Zoe first started working with rape survivors, she said despite her training, it was hard not to weep. Sexual violence affects each and every generation.
One of the consequences of war, yes.
So rape is being used as a weapon?
Of course, yeah. Nowadays, it doesn't concern only soldiers. Now there are some relatives, members of the same family, or neighbors who are still doing such things.
Those who can access a hospital walk for miles for treatment. They arrive with horrific injuries.
Ce sont des cas qui nous font mal, quoi. La première question qui vient à moi, je me dis, mais si cette femme-là, c'était ma propre maman, parce qu'il y a aussi des femmes qui sont violées à l'âge de 75 ans. Je me dis, si cette fillette était mon enfant, parce qu'il faut noter qu'on a connu des cas de viol autour des années même 2018, des enfants de moins de 5 ans. Les bandes armées, on leur dit que si vous violez un enfant de 5 ans, vous ne pouvez pas être atteint par les balles.
The scale of this issue facing legal and medical services here is unimaginable. Agencies in South Kivu record at least 8,000 rapes per year, and that's just in one province.
It's easy to think that the conflict just goes on. Why bother? Donor fatigue is real. People get tired with it. They just say Africa's fighting again. But it's always the poorest and the weakest who get caught up most in this and who suffer the most. And they're not fighting. They are trying to make a living for themselves. They're trying to raise their families, look after one another and live in communities. And then the fighting will come into their village and they will have to flee for their lives, and they'll return at some point and start again. And that's what you've seen in the Congo, is repeated waves of conflict.
Sylvia was abducted and held in the forest for 4 years. To survive, she was forced to marry one of the rebels who had murdered many in her village.
I had a 8-month child. That child was killed by those rebels. And then I couldn't even ask, where is my baby? We went straight to where we were going. We were five women. 3 days after, 3 were killed.
When she finally managed to escape, Sylvia walked for a month to reach home, where she'd hoped to be reunited with her husband and children.
My family welcomed me, but my husband couldn't accept me to continue being his wife. I came with a pregnancy from the forest. I was put in isolation. No one could help me. I was alone.
The children born of rape also face this treatment. Without a father's name and a birth certificate, they're not recognised as citizens. SCIAF is working with its partners to tackle this, but cultural change is also needed.
The child was conceived the day maybe a husband of the family was killed, a member of the family were killed, a whole family were reduced to poverty, a village was burnt. So all these issues affect the communities, and when they look at those children, they remember what happened to them, and that's why they consider the children born from rape as snakes, as lions, as bombs in the communities. But our role as social workers is to go to the communities to train people to take care of those children, because children are innocent. We need to take care of them and help them remove the trauma.
At Katana Hospital, they welcome new lives into the world, and they also try to mend the damaged bodies of mothers. Hospital conditions are basic. SCIAF funds medical care and surgical training. Here, doctors have become leading experts at treating complex trauma with very limited resources.
Moi, je suis impuissant. Mais ce que moi je fais en tant que médecin, j'aide cette femme à retrouver la vie. Mais l'idéal serait qu'on agisse au niveau de la politique pour que cela cesse.
Those receiving support and trauma counselling for sexual violence include Lisa. She has albinism and lives in a remote area where there is a belief that people with her genetic condition have magical powers. She was abducted by a man who wanted to murder her and sell her bones for witchcraft. Lisa is not alone in suffering such an ordeal stemming from superstition.
I think like anywhere in the world where there is this level of poverty, things happen that you can't quite understand. So we met 2 young girls whose families have accused them of being witches. It just felt like going back in time to sit and talk to 2 wee girls who have been ostracised by their families, who have been beaten, neglected, not allowed to sleep in the house. I mean, not allowed to touch things in the house because their family believe they're witches.
How common a story is that? And how do you go about educating people?
All starts by poverty. Of course, poverty is the consequence of war in our context, but also in many cases, many children lost their parents. The community members or relatives, they are not able to take care of those children. They have to justify why they don't want to live with them. Many children are really suffering.
So it's an excuse in some ways?
Somehow.
To make an excuse to put the blame elsewhere.
Yes, and our aim as Centre Olame is to help the women to stop mistreating the children. The children are the future of tomorrow.
To just see their faces when Therese says, you know, you're not a witch, you're a good girl, you're a child, you know, and you're loved, and it's fantastic to see that, because these girls aren't hearing that anywhere.
Their invisible wounds may be harder to heal, but those who work with these women say recovery is possible.
As they become healthier again, as they become less traumatised, as they become more self-sufficient economically, then they can, the communities start to accept them again, and they become a person again. And it's a dreadful thing to say they become a person again, but that's what we've heard from the mouths of the women who have been affected themselves.
We wish we had peace, because peace is really key to better life.
Refuse to help you and reject.
I've almost felt scared to ask, what are your hopes for the future? Because at points you think, I don't know if you have any hopes for the future. But then you ask, and I'm always amazed, even the young girls we're talking about, they knew very well. One of them said, I want to be a journalist. And she was very, very bright, and she was wanting to be a journalist. And the other one, I want to be a teacher. So they do have hopes for the future. I think the life force within people is such that you just can't keep it down no matter what life throws at them.
The support they receive and the strength they take from each other allows for new beginnings, giving women who thought their lives were over new hope.
To me, SCIAF has taken the place of both my parents and relatives. I'm now able to work and gain my money to be independent.
I have many challenges, and I know that you will keep on thinking about me. I will also pray for you, and if you are blessed, don't forget that I exist.